What's up guys, James from Twisted Assisted here. Going to be doing a short video today. What we're going to be doing is introducing a new product to our knife maintenance section. Now, some of you may remember that we used to sell a product called Smurf Poo. Now, Smurf Poo was a metal polish. It was also first and foremost a stropping compound. Essentially, you would apply it to your leather strop and it would just increase the effectiveness of the strop and really assist with sharpening and with polishing duties. So for the last few months, I've been looking for something similar that we can offer, and I am pleased to say that we now have a Twisted Knife Balm, which will act very similarly to Smurf Poo, and we are able to sell it in 50 milliliter tins on the website. So let's talk about the functions of this knife balm. First and foremost, it is a metal polish and it will clean all metals. Now let's just take this for example. Here we've got an Atlas. This is literally just come out of the box, and this is what it looks like out of the box. So I'm just going to give you a quick demonstration of the capabilities of the Twisted Knife Balm. Now, what we're going to use, we are going to use just a piece of kitchen roll to apply and polish. And once we've reached a certain stage where it's polished, we'll then use one of the Twisted Assisted cotton polishing cloths to finish off. So essentially, less is more when it comes to Twisted Knife Balm. So let us start off with just applying some with our index finger. We're just going to be doing little circles and just working that into both sides. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm polishing the knife blade in situ. I would recommend, if it's not too much trouble, to actually remove the knife blade and also remove the thumb stud as well. Just makes life easier for you, and you're not going to risk getting gunk inside the pivot or anything else like that. So little circles, and what that's going to do is that's just going to make the stone washed finish just pop. Now, can you see how it's gone from sort of white to black? All of that black is the metal that's just come off. That is being polished. The more I go, the more it is polishing down. Okay, this is the primary feature. This will work on brass, this will work on copper, this will work on chrome. Any metal, it'll polish it. Okay, and you're going to see the difference that just a simple little polish using the knife balm will accomplish. Okay, so that's enough. I'm now going to take off some of the excess polish, and then I'm just going to switch to a cotton cloth just to finish the polishing. You can also breathe on it just to apply a little bit of moisture. I might have to turn down the brightness on the camera to pick this up. You can see it is just gleaming. It's really just added a lovely shine to that, and it looks like a totally different knife just with that extra degree. This is also a really effective cleaner and remover for if you've been using, as I do, your knife to cut open cardboard boxes. You get that sticky gunk from the adhesive on the tape. This will just remove that with ease. So highly recommend it for that. Can you see that now? Now, also speaking about its polishing qualities, here I have a Twisted Palace. Now you can see that this has been given a very shiny, this is the titanium raw model, and you can see that it has got a lovely shiny finish. I achieved this just by using the Twisted Knife Balm. I removed the scales, I screwed it down through the pivot onto a little batten of wood. I put that in a machine vise, and then by applying some of the knife balm onto a scrap of scrap leather, I just repeatedly rubbed it and polished it. And after about half an hour, I had achieved this finish. So all of this is achievable with the knife balm. And these scales, that's titanium. So this has polished titanium. As I say, it works on all metals entirely. Let's talk about one of the next functions, and that is going to be using it as a polishing compound for your knife strop. Traditionally, these are leather. Here we go. We're just going to apply some compound directly to the leather strop. Again, less is more. And then we are going to, why don't we extend the life of our utility blade just by giving this a strop. So we hold it at the angle that we want, something like 30 degrees, 20 degrees actually, if you want a finer edge. And we're just going to work it backwards and forwards, always going away from the cutting edge. Of course, it is entirely possible to just remove the blade and to just hold the blade. You can see that this is now, you see how this leather is darkening up. Then take your finger, swipe off any of the excess and just work it back into the leather. This adds little powdered ceramic particles onto the leather, which will then do their job as you sharpen it up. Now, one thing you want to really be careful about doing is, as you are stropping it away from the cutting edge, when you then turn back to go in the other direction, don't roll it over, because what you're doing is the cutting edge, you're rounding it off. You're literally undoing all of the sharpening that you've achieved in the first place. Let's have a look at this. Let's take off a bit of that. You can see it's darkening up nicely as it is polishing the edge. You can extend the life of your utility blades really so that you are using the same blade for weeks and weeks. Really, the only time you'll throw away a blade is when you've either, say, snapped off the tip, or indeed that you've got some sort of a chunk missing out of there which just can't be brought back without stropping. Another interesting point about the knife balm is that there is an active ingredient in there. There is some like a wax compound in there, and what that does is, utility blades are carbon steel, so that wax, once you polish it, will be imparted and form a micro layer on the surface. So if you're cleaning a carbon steel blade or anything like that, it is going to leave a protective layer on there and will just assist you. Okay. And let's give that a polish off. I'm not sure if you can see on there. Can you see the micro bevel? The secondary micro bevel there. This is going to be super duper sharp. Let's just do a little cut test here. Let's pop this here, just with one sheet of paper. Yeah, it is sufficiently sharp. Of course, it's not just utility blades that we can use a knife strop for. We can also strop EDC knives as well. Now, because this is technically a paddle strop, you won't be able to strop the entire one side of the cutting edge in one go. You've obviously got the belly of the blade there. So you'll work over the blade in sections. You see what I'm doing? Starting off at the bottom, just working my way over to the belly. Now doing the tip. Remember, we're not rolling it. We're not making contact with the cutting edge as we roll over to come back in the other direction. And what this will do is this will impart a mirror polish to your cutting edge. It will mean that your cutting edge will be more durable. It will stay sharper longer. If you were to just use ceramic rods to do a standard sharpen, if you were to look under a microscope at the cutting edge, it would look almost serrated. And what this is doing is, by stropping, you are polishing out that serration so that bluntness cannot get a foothold. You're just really improving the longevity of your sharpen. And if you do this regularly, you are not going to need to give it a major sharpen up. You'll probably just get by with just stropping, tickling it up every time your knife blade gets dull. Give it a tickle up on the strop, and you will avoid having to do major stock removal. Let's just have a look. Let's check how sharp this is. Just put some of this kitchen roll down. Yeah, that's the sort of sharpness we're looking for. There we go. One of the advantages of using this kind of design of paddle strop is that you can hold it like a rasp, like a file. So for larger cutting edges that you need to sharpen, let's just say it's a machete or a larger fixed blade, you can actually pop that into a machine vise and then use the paddle strop like so, just to give it a good sharpen. Can you see how this is darkened right up and this has become shiny? Well, this is good for another, say, 2 sharpenings, maybe 3 sharpenings. And what you can do is you can then give it a clean. How do you clean a leather strop? Well, you don't use water. You use isopropyl alcohol, or you can use acetone, something like that. And then just get a butter knife from the kitchen cupboard and just use that to scrape off. And what that's going to do is that's going to remove all of the grey metal that is now clogging all of the flesh side of the leather. And just periodically do that. Every 6 or 7 times you use the strop, if it becomes really shiny, then it's not going to be working at optimal efficiency. And so what you want to do then is to then switch over to douse it in acetone or isopropyl alcohol, give it a clean. It will then cease being shiny and then just carry on as normal. One of the other features of the knife balm that we do is rust removal. So we've used it just to polish a finished surface, but we can use it for rust removal. Let's just have a look at something here. This is my son's tomahawk, and he's taken this out into the woods, and he's got it good and dirty, and it was put away wet, and you can see that some rust has formed here as well. What we can do is we can use the knife balm to give this a clean as well. We're not going to apply it using the kitchen roll because we need to have something a little bit more stringent. Here we go. We've got some steel wool here. So I'm just going to take some of this and I'm going to apply it to these areas. There we go. And then little circles using the steel wool. And that is just going to be far more abrasive in removing. Try not to knock the camera as I do this. Again, it's also going to impart some of the wax. So it's going to protect this the next time while it's in storage. And the next time he uses it, he's going to pull it out and it will be all ready. Here we go. You can also use, you could use wet and dry paper, something like that. Something not too abrasive, maybe 800 grit, 1000 grit. But I like to use steel wool. It just seems to get the job done. Okay, now let's just use a cotton polishing cloth. Let's have a look here. That's beautiful. That has removed all of the rust, but it hasn't been so abrasive that it's removed the hand-forged finish that this has. So it has lifted the rust, but it hasn't affected this kind of mottled finish. Can you see here that rust? Compare it to that side. So the Twisted Knife Balm is available from the custom shop. Link in the description. I think that this is a worthy substitute for Smurf Poo. Really, really happy with how it's performed. We've used it for a couple of months, checked it out and made sure that it is suitable and a worthy replacement. This is $4.99. It comes in an aluminium pot and you can purchase this via the custom shop, and we hope that you find it as useful as we do. We are going to be making some more leather strops. These are going to be manufactured by my good friend Jake, and he is going to be making these in two sizes. We've got the large size here, and then we will make them in a smaller 100mm 4-inch length so that you can carry it with your EDC kit, bug out bag, whatever, just a small little portable strop for you to be able to undertake your knife maintenance while you're on the go. There we have it. Thank you very much for watching. All the best.